Hey, it's Sylvan, and this is the Handpen podcast. There is something fundamentally human in telling stories, relating to someone else's experiences, and learning from their journey. All of us do it all the time. That's why I like the medium of podcasting a lot, because so much transpires through audio. It feels as if you were there. So whether you're listening while driving somewhere, taking a walk, or doing the dishes, I hope you enjoyed today's episode with my friend Bill Davies. For some time now, I've been intrigued by Bill's creative drive, his determination. And this conversation explains a lot. I'm excited for you to get to know Bill, as I did in this episode, and to hear what he's doing with the handpan. Here we go. I love turning a living space into a recording studio for an instant. So this is fun. Well, Bill, it's really nice to hang out. Thanks for coming all the way.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man.
Yeah, this is probably the most relaxed episode of the Handpen podcast. It's nice to be in person.
Sure.
And you brought me coffee. Thank you for that.
You're welcome. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's really fun. After jamming, we're recording this conversation. And why don't you start with telling me a little bit about you, where you're from, where you live now, just a little bit of an introduction.
Sure. Well, I was born up in upstate New York, like near Syracuse, up in the mountains, and there was snow in the winter and stuff like that, so those are good memories. My parents moved out here to Phoenix when I was 7 or 8 years old. I kind of grew up here ever since. So, and live up in North Peoria right now, so, yeah.
Yeah. I remember now that you grew up in upstate New York. My first year in the U.S. was in Albany, New York.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I got to experience the cold winters. And the culture is a little bit different. Describe a little bit of Syracuse. What was that like?
Oh, I was little. I barely remember it. I mean, I remember getting on the bus to go to school. I remember not having a nickel for my chocolate milk one morning and having like this big problem. And, I loved nap time when I was a kid. I remember in kindergarten because I was, little then. And I remember tobogganing down hills in the snow and, the trees. And we lived on a farm actually. So we got to ride the farm owner's tractor. He would drive it, but we'd sit in the seat and stuff. Wow. So it was, good memories. I was a little kid. Nothing, I didn't understand the world yet. So it was all happy and fun and things. So, yeah.
Were you introduced to music at a young age?
My mom sang, just around the house and things like that, but not really. I don't really know how I actually picked it up. My parents did have a piano, and I started. Well, actually, my very first instrument was an old Thomas organ that had a lighted keyboard underneath. You could flip a switch, and it would light up like the C, E, G to see what the C major was, and it would show you the different chords. And that was my first introduction to music theory. So I kind of learned a little bit on that, and then transferred to the piano and played that for a while. Kind of all self-taught stuff.
So what brought you to the handpan? How did you discover the handpan?
Sure. Well, I've been playing guitar and keyboard since I was probably 16, 17 years old, for decades. And I kind of got tired of that and stopped playing. I started doing some artwork, and then saw a video on YouTube, probably just like a lot of other people, right? So you see a video somewhere and think, oh my good, wow, what is that? I want that. I have to do that. And then I was doing some music, like software, a workstation on my PC. So I went and bought a sampler that had, I think it was the Sonic-Couture pan drums, which was a sample of a handpan, and tried to kind of play that, obviously not satisfied with that. Then several years later, finally scraped up the money, sold all my other equipment, and started buying handpans. I don't know when I actually discovered it. Probably, it had to be like maybe 2012, or, it was a good number of years ago. Probably when the handpan was pretty new, 2010 maybe, I don't know, it took a while. And it wasn't until December of 2017 that I actually got my first handpan.
Oh, wow.
So,
Yes.
yeah.
Still pretty recent.
Still pretty recent, yeah.
And you've got 3 now. So
mhm.
you've increased your passion for
Oh,
the
sure.
handpan very quickly.
Yes. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I want another one. I mean, how could, it's
Yeah.
it's hard not to want more with a slightly different timbre, slightly different scale, I mean, it's, yeah.
It is interesting, right? It's inherent to the instrument wanting another one at some point.
I think so. It seems like it. Yeah, sure. Is for me. Yes.
What is the limit, do you think? How many is too many handpans?
Oh, that's a personal. I think each individual has to answer that question for themselves.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I've seen people play, with 6 or 7 handpans on stage. Then they do chromatic orchestral type arrangements, and that's phenomenal. It's great. And but there's plenty of people who can get by, or not just get by. That's kind of a bad Freudian slip, probably. But have just one handpan and be totally good at it, happy, very skilled.
Yeah. Yeah. The more instruments I have personally, the less time I play on each individually.
Agreed.
And I do think there is value in spending extended amount of time with a specific instrument to really explore its potential and subtleties. And it's like there are always melodies and passages that are almost locked. They're locked in, and you have to work hard to reveal them.
Yeah, sure.
Yesterday, you shared a video on your Sibai, a cover of Amazing Grace, your rendition of Amazing Grace.
Inspiration by, yeah.
I'll link to that video in the show notes of the episode because I think it's really a remarkable video. And in that track, you were using effects. Tell me about gear, effects, kind of your experimentation with all of that in the handpans.
Sure. Okay. Well, I mean, it comes from my guitar playing days, right? I played electric guitar for years, and you have to have lots of effects if you're going to do electric guitar. And I also was into ambient music, like back when Fripp and Eno first came out back in the 70s and things. So I've always been a big kind of a delay guy. I like to have lots of delays. I've been in the loopers for a long time. I haven't done that much looping on the pan yet. I've tried it, but I haven't perfected it yet. But on the video, it's basically a delay and then into a reverb that's just a huge, insanely long reverb, and it just makes it just a kind of a cavernous space. And so I'm kind of just trying to figure out how to dial that in for like a live situation. It's kind of an experiment. Miking the handpans is not easy. I mean, I've tried dynamic mics and they kind of don't work very well. I've tried contact mics, AKG, whatever, the C11. I've tried that. They work pretty well, but you have to use a lot of EQ. So anyway, on the video, it was a shotgun condenser.
But yeah, I thought that shotgun mic did really well, and obviously it's a mono track.
Yeah, it's mono. Yes, yeah. Well, I record everything basically into a mixer and then into my iPhone. So
really?
It's like, yes.
Tell me about that.
Okay, so I just use iPhone up on a little camera stand, and then I run Filmic Pro, which I think is cheap, $15, $25, whatever app. And then out of the mixer, I have a USB to lightning cable, and I just plug that in and just configure Filmic Pro to take input from the USB hookup. And then you get the video and the sound at the same time. It's mono, but that's okay. Oh, and plus, I'm deaf in my left ear, so I can't hear stereo anymore. So I thought I don't want to take the chance to try to produce a stereo product or track and not be able to judge the stereo-ness of it. So everything I do now is in mono.
Okay. Wow, that's a great setup because it bypasses the need to sync the video and audio files.
Yes. Yep.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's great. Yeah, I love hearing about gear and setups that remove friction and that make it easier to create and to release your art. And I love that you've been more active recently with your recordings, and it's really great to see your stuff.
Oh, cool. Thank you.
What gets you most excited about the handpan? You're a multi-instrumentalist, but what keeps bringing you back to the handpan?
I think it's the simplicity of it, and not just that, but it's the immediate tactile experience. You know what I mean? It's just different than a guitar or piano. They're all mechanical, kind of complicated, if you will. But the handpan you can just pick up and just, if you're gentle, it's gentle. If you're a little more aggressive, it can be louder and more aggressive and stuff. It's more. I don't know how to explain it. It's just more. It's more accessible. It's more immediate.
Yeah.
And actually, I was thinking the other thing too, besides just the accessibility. I mean, it's just the tone, right? I mean, it's just that it's bell-like, kind of. I mean, it just the tone. It's hard to describe, but it's just there's something about the tone. It's just very alluring, if you will.
Yeah. It's a simple instrument by design, but it's not a simplistic instrument, because it has this rich, layered sound, which makes it sound complete. It's not lacking. You could pick up a little xylophone for children with 7 or 8 notes.
Right.
You have the same limited amount of notes on the handpan, but because it's layered with the overtones, the attack, your finger on the steel, the sympathetic resonance between harmonious notes, the hum holds, like it's such a rich, it's not lacking at all.
Agreed. Yeah.
Where has the handpan taken you?
Well, I don't know. Lots of places, I suppose. I mean, I did a lot of open mics for a while. I did the Pantasia last year. That was a lot of fun. Pretty good to see all the different players. Tried different handpans. It was cool. I wrote a letter to a couple of schools nearby and told them that I would be interested in coming in and presenting the handpan if they wanted their students to see it or maybe get a chance to play it. Haven't heard back yet, but I'm trying to push out a little bit to try to let people, give people an opportunity to actually play it and to experience it live. Because I think a lot of people may have seen a video, which is fascinating and interesting, but when you actually see one live or actually play one, that first couple times you get that tone out of it, and when you strike it right, it's an amazing experience. People light up. So that kind of moves me. And I'd like to do a lot of improvisation. I've done improvisation behind people who do spoken word, poetry, things like that. I love doing that. That's, just setting the mood, kind of sitting in the background. I love to do that sort of stuff.
That covers a lot. You've been so creative, so productive with your handpans. I love that. And I also really appreciate that you're thinking outside of the box and reaching out to, you reached out to the Musical Instrument Museum in Phoenix, to these schools, introducing new audiences to this instrument. You're a go-getter.
I try to be. I mean, you almost have to be. I like. Sometimes it's nice just to sit at home and play, but really, it's about. In my mind, it's about interaction too. I have to have a balance of both. So I kind of sometimes have to go push a little bit to make things happen, look for opportunities.
Yeah, I love that, and it's the sign that. You have been impacted by this instrument.
Yeah.
This is something I love about the history of this small community that we're a part of. No one's forcing us to buy a plane ticket or, drive 6 hours and go to a handpan gathering. Like, it doesn't feel like, but no one's going there reluctantly.
Right. That's true.
You see people coming from all over the world, eager, rushing to these events. And really being self-starters and picking themselves. Like, I think a lot of what you're doing, a lot of what I've done and I try to continue to do is not wait for the gatekeepers to let you in, but just initiate and create, go out there and just make stuff. And that opens just such incredible opportunities to, I mean, we would have never met.
Yeah, that's true.
And,
Yes,
and you came to a small gig I had at a library in Phoenix. Introduced yourself and said, "Hey, I play that too."
Yeah.
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 What are some of the projects that you're working on or ideas in the back of your mind about what could be done with the instrument or what you specifically want to do with it in the future?
Yeah, I don't have any like specific projects on like a to-do list or anything that I'm working on. I just, other than trying to just work out like a rig of effects and things that I could take to a live setting. But I just want to get better. I want to have more opportunities to play. One thing I've really, I mean, like I said, I love to play behind spoken word, and I'm a Bible believer, right? So I would love opportunities to go to like a church setting and have somebody read some inspired passages from the Bible, and have somebody like, you know, myself or really anybody, but playing handpan behind that, because I think that my guess is most of the people there probably would have never heard that instrument before, and I think it's so beautiful and has such an opportunity to invite people in, and it kind of invokes that sense of wonder. And I think if someone's reading something inspirational at the same time, I think it's just like a beautiful, potentially awesome combination of things that could happen. You know, so that's kind of like really that's one of my big kind of motivations, and I haven't moved on it too much, but it's kind of like internally I know that's where my passion is. I know that's where my drive is, and I'm like getting onto the cusp of starting to maybe reach out and start asking people if they'd be interested in something like that.
I love that. And we share the same beliefs, and I think there's so much overlap between music and the power of music and worship and spirituality. Yeah, because it's artful, and I like to read the Psalms.
Yeah.
And, you know, the wisdom literature.
That's where I started, actually. Ecclesiastes was like my first experience ever. It's like, wow, there's a lot of good stuff in here.
Man, yeah. If you, wherever you find yourself, whether it's hopeful, enthusiastic about the future, or really in a dark place and cynical, Ecclesiastes covers this whole range of emotions.
Yep.
And with music, with the handpan, we can do part of that, like expressing ourselves, letting those emotions out through the music. Has the handpan ever been this kind of emotional outlet, this expressive outlet for you?
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
I mean, that's, yeah. All music has always been like that for me. You know, I'm not even honestly very good at like remembering parts, you know, but I'm pretty, my heart really is more towards like an improvisational type thing. You know, with enough practice, I can actually kind of repeat things, but most of the time I just kind of like to go with the flow and kind of hook into what's happening and try to make it better or try to add or not get in the way, you know. But yes, yeah, certainly. It's always been, I think that's why I still have a passion for it, is because it's opportunities to express that emotion, you know.
So 2 of your handpans are very bright and open. You know, based on what we're talking about, there would be value in perhaps having a really dark handpan scale to, you know, at times when you're not feeling uplifted and you need to let that out. It'd be cool to have an outlet that's just really dark, really intense, and maybe come out of that with on a brighter note.
Yes, absolutely. No, totally. Yeah. When I was doing guitar and piano stuff, that's what I'd be in whatever mood I was in. I'd start out like that, but then after a while, you kind of let it out, and it starts to get nice again. You know. But yeah, I just have to figure out what scale and
Yeah.
scale maker, how many notes. There's just a lot to go,
Yeah.
a lot of thought to put into it.
Yeah.
It's a big decision.
Do you like that it's kind of an obscure art form where
Yes.
there really isn't an choose option A, B, or C?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
I do like that it's a lot of custom hand build, and the passion of the makers, that they really put their heart and soul into the instruments. They're proud of what they're doing. They like to see their instruments valued, things like that. I mean, I think that's great. And I think it's nice that you can contact a maker and, have some custom notes or custom features, and I think that adds value to the art form.
Absolutely. Yeah, obviously it's impossible to know the future, but we may very well be in the golden age of handpans where everyone's engaged, everyone's committed to the craft. There's a shared passion.
Mm-hmm.
And we understand it because we're a part of it, and we've been empowered to go out there and take the handpan with us.
That is something else I do like about the handpan too, though. Like, you take it with us. You pretty much can just put it in the car, drive to the park, sit down and play. I mean, it's not like you have to take an amplifier and have a little stage, or you don't have to have an outlet. It's very portable. And there are obviously some places are better than others for playing it. You don't want to be in the sun. You want to have a little bit of sound reflection if possible, so you don't have too much background noise. But but basically you can take it pretty much anywhere and enjoy it.
Yeah.
As long as you take care of it afterwards, and like not at the beach with the salt water and stuff like that. You have to be careful, but you know what I'm saying. It basically, as long as you maintain it and treat it well, then you can take it just about anywhere.
And it changes the acoustics. Depending on where you play, you might experience like outdoors versus inside in a small space, in a big space, a large church.
Mm-hmm.
Have you had some of these experiences playing in various settings and hearing the acoustics and the natural reverb?
Sure, yeah. Well, my little room that I practice in is just an old bedroom, and it's small, so you get very much of a. It's very bright, everything, all the sounds come through. If I take it outside in the backyard, it's a little more mellow on the top end because the sound just kind of propagates farther. We did play at Pantasia in that Harmony Hall downstairs, designed by Frank Lloyd Wright, which I think has a natural 7-second reverberation or something, I think. And you just hit a note and it just kind of rings, it was really beautiful down there. And that was really something. And, but yeah, every place you play is going to have its own kind of, sonic signature. So.
Which makes it so fun. It makes me want to document and journal the experience of bringing a pan and like a bunch of different acoustic settings.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe record some of that, I think it was, I hope I'm not mistaken, but I think it was Michael Colley, the maker of Asiel, who recorded his album in bathrooms, like in restrooms.
Oh, sure. You get that really nice, quick reverb kind of thing. Yeah. That's a good idea.
Yeah. Yeah. Anything else that's on your mind that you want to share, or closing thoughts on whatever's going on in your creative journey?
Sure. Well, there's actually one thing that came to mind while we were talking. So a couple of years ago, like I said, I'd been playing guitar and keyboards, and then I kind of just was thinking about getting into handpans and things, and I had a cancer diagnosis, right? So then I went through surgery and some radiation, and so then when you kind of face with that, then you start thinking, okay, mortality, Yeah. And then it really kind of spurred me on to like, well, I got to make this count now, I mean? So I don't have time to kind of wait to get things done anymore. I kind of have to push to try to see the, whatever vision I have for the pan, to get it out there. So it was a real motivator for me, a real wake up call to actually, take a chances and get into it and do things that I might have, kind of put off earlier.
Wow.
So
I had no idea.
yeah, well,
Was there a before and after, Bill, across that experience? Like, did it change you to? I mean, obviously.
I mean, probably to some degree, sure. I mean, I think, I mean, probably, I just, I don't know. Ask my wife; she would be able to more than I would. But I mean, it does. I mean, it gives you pause. It'll change your perspective on things. So yeah, probably.
Yeah, that makes sense, and it helps me understand your drive and because it's something I really appreciate in you, and you're right. I mean, it's a good reminder that we have our role to play in making things happen. We can't just wait for them to happen to us.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a good reminder.
And I think that musical talent, musical passion, whatever, is a gift, and it's the kind of gift that it's really needs to be given to be come to full fruition. So I'm thinking, okay, I feel like I've been given a measure of talent, and that I need to, express that talent because that's what it's there for, So it's like combined with the, time may be short here, so get something done. With also thinking, okay, I really need to express this to make it worthwhile, whatever, make it valuable. Then so those two things together is what motivates me.
Yeah, that's exciting, and I'm glad that we live in the same city because, I want to be a part of that, and I want to share in the journey. So. To be continued for sure.
Absolutely. To be continued.
But yeah, thanks for sharing your story. Sure. And it's fun because now we get to jam some more.
Excellent.
All right. Thanks, Bill.
Sure. Thanks, Owen.
I am sure that I don't know the half of what's being done with the handpan out there. But every time I get a glimpse of this kind of passion that you can hear in Bill's voice there at the end, I'm inspired. Is it the magical sound of the handpan, its weird shape, or the blank slate that this young art form represents? I don't know, but something powerful is happening here. A sense of freedom. I love that about the handpan. And by the way, passion is going to look different for everyone. And that's a good thing. I believe that the secret ingredient to the success of your specific projects is you. I know it sounds cliche, but with the handpan, you don't have to be picked by gatekeepers. You can pick yourself. You have the power to create today, to share your art, and to impact someone's life. Again, it doesn't need to be on stage. It doesn't even need to be online. You get to define that. Thanks for listening to this episode of the Handpen Podcast, and talk to you in the next one.